What's happening? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Vibe for all the good and bad inside the world of Apple. The Big A finally launched the iTunes Match service, and Google announced their own Google Music service this week with the ability to share a purchased song to their Google Plus friends and tools for independent artists to control their music. It's an ongoing war between Android and Apple that won't end anytime soon, but a recent study from Gartner reveals that Android's winning in worldwide market share for their OS with close to 53% share for the third quarter of 2011 and Apple at 15%. But that's only part of the story because Apple is winning when it comes to the money race, bringing in more than half of the industry's profits at 65%, and we all know cheddar makes it better. Now, both platforms want you to spend more money and consume content, but is iTunes Match really worth the $25 you put in per year? Let's check it out. Hey guys, Brian Tong here with CNET.com, and we're going to show you a first look at the iTunes Match service that's finally been launched by Apple. Now, to get iTunes Match, first of all, you got to download the latest version of iTunes, and it's a service for $24.99 a year, and you can turn on iTunes Match by going into the store menu. Now, it will match your own personal music collection with the same tracks on the iTunes Store, and then it'll also upload your remaining songs that can't be matched to the iCloud. That allows you to listen to your entire collection anytime on your iOS devices. Plus, you'll also be able to use this service with up to 10 iOS devices and computers total, and a maximum of 5 of those can be computers. Now, once the iTunes Match service completes, you'll be able to either stream tracks to your computer by playing them or click on the download cloud icon to store them locally. Now, once they're downloaded, the icon goes away and the size of the file changes to represent it's been downloaded locally. Now, if you don't have an internet connection, the iTunes Match music that's not been downloaded will be grayed out from your music list, and you'll be unable to access it until you have an active internet connection. Now let's jump over to our iOS devices. I have my iPhone running the latest iOS 5, and I'll go into my settings, then music, where I can turn on iTunes Match on my phone. Then jump into the music app, and just like in iTunes, you'll see your tracks with a cloud icon next to each one. Now I can select a song, and the first play behaves as if it's streaming, but once it downloads the entire song, it will remain on your phone and the cloud icon will disappear. You can also choose to download an entire album instead of selecting it track by track to your iOS devices, and the iTunes Match service will also bring over all your playlists. So there's your first look at the iTunes Match service. It really delivers on giving you access to your entire collection on multiple devices, but you'll really have to decide if that's worth $24.99. For CNET.com, I'm Brian Tong. All right, I can tell you that after using it for 3 days, my large music collection still hasn't been completely loaded. Different playlists from different machines all combining into one place. That's annoying. Not all my playlists are even syncing, and when iTunes matches a track I have with multiple versions of that song from different albums on their store and then throws them all in my library, it's a mess. So bottom line, it's really not worth it to me right now, and it still needs to be cleaned up some. Now in iOS news, according to German website MacBook, Apple's working on 2 separate software updates. They say 5.0.2 should be coming no later than next week and addresses more of the battery bugs that haven't been resolved with Apple's last 5.0.1 update. And iOS 5.1 will feature a significant improvement to Siri with additional commands for taking pictures, turning on or off services like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also accepting my request for a date. Which reminds me, over the past few weeks, a lot of little things, including the iOS not update, have been adding up, and it's really worthy of throwing out a bad apple. You see, a couple weeks ago, Siri completely goes down. No one really mentions it, but that's okay because it's still beta, even though Apple is touting it as the newest feature and selling point for the iPhone 4S. Then they released the iOS 5 battery update, but only after a swarm of users say it hasn't really fixed anything. Then they admit there's still bugs they haven't solved, like that battery issue. And my favorite one, here we go guys, Apple offers a replacement for first-gen iPod Nanos after discovering, or really finally admitting, the original model had the potential to catch fire 5 years later. Now that same model was exploding and setting on fire for years, but at least now we know, 5 years later. Mind blown. And that's a bad apple, and bad apple on all y'all's. Now, in product rumor news and sometimes made-up stories, Digitimes reports a small number of components for the 15-inch ultra-thin MacBook Air will start shipping this month, and mass shipments of the finished notebook will start moving in March of 2012, just in time to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Also, Digitimes reports Apple has pulled back on its fourth quarter orders for iPad 2 display panels after they stocked up on parts for Q3 with the new iPad 3 Retina display parts for early 2012. Now, everyone asks me, is it still a good time to buy an iPad 2? And the answer is absolutely yes. 5 to 6 months away from the last release is really a long ways away, and that's if you assume a new one is coming then, so it's a safe bet right now. Now, in a Nielsen survey, the iPad, iPod Touch, and iPhone are the 3 most desired consumer products this holiday season among kids ages 6 through 12. Now, the iPad tops the list with 44% of little people thinking that it's an affordable Christmas present. And no, don't try to trick them into a Kindle Fire, because I have nieces and nephews and they know. So parents, if you bend your children's demands, just accept the fact that the only thing you'll be buying yourself for Christmas are socks, and little nano socks that don't have toes. All right, let's check out some quick bites. We know the iPhone 4 and 4S rank as 2 of the most fragile cell phones ever, but in a revealed Apple patent, they were working on an inflatable shock mount, like an airbag, to protect your screen, and obviously that didn't make it into the final design. The Netflix app will be getting a revamp on the iPad with improvements for browsing, searching, and watching TV shows and movies, so it's currently available on Android tablets and coming to the iPad soon. Samsung and Apple have also been going at it with their patent battles, which resulted in Samsung having its Galaxy 10.1-inch tab banned in Germany. So, they made a cosmetic change and added a silver edge around it. So now it looks like a first-gen iPad instead of an iPad 2. Also, you guys want to check this out. It might not be the cleanest video we have, but it's really worth watching. It may not look like anything recognizable at first, but this is a live painting by artist Aaron Kaiser, who made a portrait painting of Steve Jobs in 6 minutes at the 11th Hour live music and art show in Kentucky recently. 6 minutes! I don't think I could do that in 6 anythings. And we'll wrap things up with more cool stuff. It's wintertime, snowboard and skiing season are in full effect, and the team at Signal Snowboards created the first iPad snowboard. They call it the iShred. The snowboard is made from an aluminum base with its own light-up logo and iPad functionality. Some pretty sweet stuff. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. Send us your emails to theapplebite@cnet.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Brian Tong, and we'll see you guys next week for another bite of the apple.